guests like former Steelers coach Bill Cowher, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. Snoop Dogg was just on it. Right now, Aaron Rodgers is a guest with Eli and Peyton. Meantime, Bucs coach Bruce Arians says he doesn't regret Antonio Brown bringing him back to the team after making it clear Brown is no longer a part of the organization. They have yet to cut him. Speaking of Brown, he didn't perhaps get that flight on Sunday out of town because he was at the Nets game on this night in Brooklyn, where the Grizzlies won their fifth straight, 118-104. Ja Morant had 36 for the winners. Nets gave up 40 points in the third quarter. Kevin Durant, James Harden, 13 of 36 combined from the floor as the Nets lose their third straight, all at home since Durant's return from the COVID absence. The Nets are preparing for Kyrie Irving's season debut. That will be Wednesday at the Pacers. How about back on the floor? Joel Embiid, a 31-point triple-double. Sixers beat the Rockets, and the Sadiq Bey, 34. Pistons get their third road win at Milwaukee, snapping the Bucks' 6-game win streak.
What's up, everybody? This is Jay Williams from Keyshawn, J. Will and Max, and we hope you're having a wonderful holiday season with your family. Don't forget about your morning family with us, me, Key, and Max, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Honolulu presents Call the Coach with University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior basketball coach Eran Ganot. Presented by Paxa and brought to you by HGEA, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union, and IBEW Local 1186.
And welcome to our Monday edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot. Well, I guess we'll get right to this meaty and weighty problem. And we know it's going to be like this virtually all year long, but it looks like this game on Thursday against Cal State Fullerton has been postponed. Surprised?
You know, you're somewhat building immunity based on what we've been going through over the last couple of years. I know I've been talking about it at length, and you're seeing what's going on around the country. We were very fortunate to be devoid of a lot of these issues for a long time. 21 months, we had none of these. And I think it's magnified a little bit because we also have some injuries as well. The guys have been fantastic. We're just in one of those stretches that we saw a lot of teams go through. So we've got to continue to stay ready, and we know some of this will happen with us, with other teams as the season goes along. My hope is that this is our toughest stretch.
When we get to a Saturday night, because you're scheduled to be at Long Beach on Saturday, are they giving you any heads up on what the situation is in Long Beach? Do you have any idea what's going on there?
To some respect, I know staffs know each other. You're seeing what's going on around the country, but this is so quick that it's almost, you feel like hour to hour, day by day, versus before you had a little bit of a heads up. We know 4 teams in our conference have had somewhat of this pause, including us. And we know people are coming back from the holidays or getting ready to start the second semester and testing. And so you see, we've got 30 games a day over the last week to 2 weeks canceled or postponed nationally. So you hope there's a trend where it starts to stop. But right now we're in a tough situation, obviously, in our conference, but you see it nationally.
You know, one of the things that I think, and I'm sure this is a big part of why you are disappointed, is simply because there's a real problem with getting everybody up to speed and ready when you haven't been able to have everybody on the court at once, even for practice.
Yeah, it's the rhythm's been tough. You try to flip the script, as you know. It's an awesome challenge. It's incredible. You got to be creative in some ways, but at the end of the day, you eventually got to get back to having normal practices. And been difficult, as you know. People are going through these stretches everywhere in the country. We've kind of dealt with it from 2 weeks before our first game. You're losing 2 guys and then losing 2 more guys, and then when you feel like we can work their way back, Noel coming back, because we know too, Samuta and Juan aren't coming back. Obviously, they're had successful surgeries; they'll be back and things like that. But for this year, those 2 aren't part of the group we're talking about. Noel's back, Bernardo's right around the corner, and then you have something like this. So, and the reality of it, something like this is everybody's hit at different times in terms of what I'm calling the protocols. They return at different times after their 5 or 10 days or whatever it is. You got to see how each guy responds. So it's somewhat case by case, and it's been like a a puzzle you're putting together, and you come in every day trying to figure out who you have to practice and then kind of go from there. So the hope, though, obviously is, again, the messaging of the team is control what you can control, keep moving forward, evolving in creative ways, and hope that the best is yet to come. That's kind of where we're at.
Sounds like you're getting closer, though, because a lot of people are towards the tail end of their sort of quarantine period.
Yeah, it's like what we saw nationally. I know we may have not had a case for 21 months, but when we did, there was an increase. There hasn't been an increase of late. It's just now you're dealing with working these guys back when they're able to come back at different times. So it's been an interesting challenge. And then you go, okay, what can we do? So some of the guys are out. Let's do some Zoom. Let's do some video. But the up and down, the 5-on-5, that's where you got to get to. And I do believe, I continue to hold the faith that we'll get there at some point. But this is a tough stretch, probably our toughest stretch, even though we've had tough stretches early in the year because of injuries. But you have a little bit of a combination of both going on at the same time. And like you said, the hope is that we're in the heart or to the end of it, and we'll be better moving forward and we'll get them all back.
As far as you know, right this minute, you still are planning to be at Long Beach State on Saturday.
Yes. I mean, the reality is, as hard as it is with all this happening, whether it's us, and it could change. I mean, the reality is you could be on the road, you can prepare for a game, and that day or the day before it could change. We're going to continue to prepare like we're playing every game. And you have to have that mindset. And then we'll adjust accordingly. Same with practice for games. We're preparing like we have everybody. We find out who we have, we'll adjust accordingly. That's the way we're going to move forward.
I thought one of the interesting things is that it's Cal State Fullerton that's canceled. And we were all in the lobby of the hotel we stay at in Fullerton when we found out 2 years back, now it'll be 2 years March, that the Big West tournament was not going to take place. Crazy.
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier with some people, and, we talk about 3 years impacted in some way. The end of the 1920 season, we didn't get to play in the conference tournament. The day of, we found out, last year didn't have a non-conference and then ended up playing 18 conference games, more than anybody in our league. And then this year, obviously, you hoped you're through the tough part of it, and then here we go as we head into December. It's a tough stretch nationally, so you can feel some COVID fatigue for everybody, and we talk about that. But we're going to continue to move forward, and again, we take care of each of our guys. It's number one, and our hope is, and we believe that the injured guys are healthier. The guys are going through a tough stretch right now. They'll be back, and we got to kind of weather the storm a little bit and continue to find, like we said, creative ways to evolve.
I wanted to get your thought in terms of coming back from an injury. Noel Coleman may have come back as strong as anyone I've ever seen. And in 3 games, back to back, he gets 23, 31, and 22 points. How do you explain that?
Sometimes I said it when it happened the first game. That's about as well a recovery as I've ever been around. Usually you're like, okay, let's build it up. Let's get the rhythm back, the feel for the ball. I mean, he's been dominant. Now, some of that is he missed the 2 weeks, but he had such a great offseason. He's stronger. He's playing with a lot more confidence, and it's fun to watch a guy grow like that. But you hope that happens with everybody, and certainly teams. It's not the norm, but certainly that's something at least this group can look to as an example.
It would be nice if Bernardo came back a little bit like that. That would be a good thing.
He just started drilling threes and
going nuts.
No,
it's like Bernardo da Silva, 35, 29, 33. I mean, that would be okay. I could live with that.
Well, I'll say something about Bernardo. He's very similar to Noel in the fact that he also had a great offseason. That's why he also got off to a great start. Those were our 2 leading scorers before each of them had their respective injuries. Now, Bernardo's missed 6 weeks, which is obviously more significant than the 2 weeks Noel missed. But he's been engaged. It's fun to see him just now on the floor, just recently on the floor. And I think the expectations, he's going to continue to get better and better as he gets on the floor and gets the confidence with it. Certainly you'd like it to happen in Noel's way, but I think we both know I wouldn't be surprised because Bernardo's like that, but I also don't think that what Noel did is common anywhere.
Yeah, that was not an ordinary comeback from injury. Let me get this, though, as far as Bernard goes and his development. Talked about the offseason, and when he came back, I mean, he was rebounding at a high level. He was 15-8. I mean, that is fabulous. If you got that all the time, I don't think you'd have one kick.
No, and if you were around him, you weren't super surprised by it. He was a bit of an unknown because he missed so much time. People didn't really know what to expect. But, he had his first year as a freshman for us in conference play, if you remember, at Fulton, we started him as a freshman, one of the better freshmen in our league. And he was a lot thinner. I know he's gained some weight. He needs to continue to gain weight. But then he missed a month. And then last year he had a great offseason and he was out for the year. And so we were hoping that he'd be back to where he was, but obviously he's back and beyond. And he's still a sophomore. He's got 3 years. He's had another setback. This one's different, though. When you deal with the foot and things like that, there's some sensitivity to how he'll be in terms of seeing contact and getting on the floor up and down. That's all good. This one is more just the time it needed to heal. And you can see in the last couple of days where he's at, and he's stayed so engaged and locked in. And now he also has experience under his belt. He's a veteran guy. He's an older guy. He's a wise guy. Just really excited to have him back, to be honest. And he's a big part of our program.
Let me get to some of the differences it'll make with Mate and Bernardo back. I mean, you went from what I thought was about as deep a front court as you could hope for in the conference, probably as good as anybody. And then you went to relatively thin because it was really, with both Mate and Bernardo out, it was kind of Kamaka and Jerome.
Yeah, we went from deep to thin overnight. And it went from, obviously, you lose Bernardo, then you lose Mate. And Bernardo and Mate are our two fives in our program. So that affected us, obviously, in a lot of ways. And the bigger thing that, realize is when we lost each of these guys, it happened like a day or two before these games. So having their departures and also our inability to practice with a different group, that combination. Now, these guys have been awesome. They've been we've been trying to piece it together on the fly a little bit because of some of the circumstances. But you can notice we went from big at the 5, big at the 4, and big at the 3, moving Kamaka there to pretty small. Now Kamaka plays more at the 4, Jerome plays at the 5, Junior plays some more at the 3, and we've been impacted, obviously, in terms of getting the line and on the glass. Now, we can do better with the current setup, but the combination of those two really hurt us.
Let me get to this, because Justice Jackson is the newest player on this team, and you actually put him in the game against South Florida, which I was surprised at because I think he'd had one practice and a couple of walkthroughs. That was pretty bold, I thought. I mean, and not really your general style.
Well, it was the situation dictated, and you know what? He actually had one day, I think, and we're trying to live coach him. But I'll say this about some guys, and you've heard us talk about this, some guys over the years. He has a look and a confidence about him, and you could tell when he was in there. I mean, not many people. We just talked about Noel, what he had to do. Justice Jackson's first Division I basketball game was only a week or so after he played at the high school level, and it was in the Diamond Head Classic with 10 minutes to go against Vanderbilt, and he did well. I mean, I think you can only do so much when you haven't been as familiar with some of the things we needed to do, but you can't teach the confidence and the swag and the belief, and the rest will come as he gets more reps under his belt in practice. So we are excited about him. We're excited about where he's at, where he's headed. He's certainly been thrown in the fire.
He would seem very willing to stick his nose in, to get in front of people, to battle. I mean, for a guy's first couple of minutes, and I'm guessing probably as big a crowd as he's seen, I mean, that's really quite something.
Yeah, did a good job. He set up some guys for shots, guarded, some really good players. I mean, like I said, the confidence is there on both ends. He's a skilled player. He's a strong player. He's pretty explosive as well. He can play above the rim. He can shoot it pretty well. But he certainly he's dynamic, if that makes sense. He likes to create havoc on both ends. And he's still learning things, as we know. But just like I said we talked about with Noel, it starts with that kind of belief. And he wasn't afraid of the moment. I'll put it that way. And I think that will help him move forward.
When he is in a game, and now we're in conference, and I think some of the other teams have players on them that probably know your offense and what you guys do far better than Justice could possibly know it yet.
And I'll give him credit. He is a smart player. He picks things up. He's intentional. You can only do so much over. You're sitting there. I'm sure you notice we're obviously walking him through stuff in the two or 3 days we had with him. Watching, even prior to him coming, did some film stuff with him over Zoom. But he does pick things up quickly. And still, there's a lot. You're coming in the middle of December. There's a lot of things in there. But he has a feel for the game. And I think he has an understanding of the game. And he's just going to continue to get better as he picks things up. And I'll say this. Again, I credit so much our guys. They've been fantastic the whole year, even through some of this adversity. They take it upon themselves to help him out.
Well, we have to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll talk about what's next, maybe as soon as Saturday back in conference play. You are listening to Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu and Facebook Live.
Some people think of public workers as statistics, numbers, positions that are unnecessary. But public workers include police dispatchers, lifeguards, principals, and other school workers like safety and security specialists and educational assistants, public health nurses, and thousands more real people who play important roles that every community needs. So those public workers, we shouldn't take them for granted. They provide essential services that benefit us all. A message from HGEA.
Protect your family with V-Shield, the next generation of hand sanitizers. As a spray or lotion, V-Shield kills the COVID virus on contact, providing 4 hours of protection. Purchase V-Shield sanitizers at all Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union locations, just $13. With every sanitizer purchase, the credit union will donate a travel spray to a frontline hero. Visit hificu.com. Federally insured by the NCUA. All sales final. Nova Shield LLC is solely responsible for the content of this advertisement and is the manufacturer and distributor of this product. Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union makes no representations or warranties concerning the effectiveness of this product.
What you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homie fall-proof gear.
Ano, bubble wrap and duct tape going work.
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. You okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting smoking hot in here.
Oh no.
It's raining over here. How we pop all the stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
PAXA is Hawaii's premier technology provider and systems integrator. They harness the power of bleeding-edge technologies to help local businesses realize their full potential. Their team delivers customized IT solutions that enable nearly 400 commercial, government, and nonprofit organizations across the state to maximize opportunities and pursue innovation. To learn more, visit their website at paxa.com. That's PACXA.com.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog, because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
Welcome back to a special virtual edition of Call the Coach. And Eran, I don't know, I want to start with this because I don't know if you're hearing anything yet about what will be possible in terms of attendance for UH home games, because the OIA announced today there will be no fans. They're refunding tickets, at least for the month of January. Same at UH Hilo. They're not having any fans live for men's or women's basketball for the month of January. Are you hearing anything about something about to be imposed at UH?
I haven't. So, I'll always say what I know, and I'll say what I don't know. So until I hear otherwise, I'll be obviously transparent about that. So I know we're all following what's going on in every state, every school in our conference, things in Hawaii. And so my hope is that we can weather this, obviously, and have our great fans in the stands. But, we'll pass that along as we hear things.
Okay, we have this text. Is the Fulton cancellation due to new COVID cases that just came up? I think what people are also interested is Fulton having some of the same issues we've had. And the other question is, what's the minimum amount of healthy bodies that you need to compete?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I can never comment on another program or another school. So I know from afar, you can tell that most schools in the country are dealing with this in one way or another. I'm hopeful that some of those schools are as fortunate as we had been in not dealing with that. But we know there's obviously a lot of cases out there. As it relates to us, and in terms of conferences and even our conference, you have to have, I believe the rules, and I think it's out there, is the 7 eligible healthy bodies that can go. And so what we talked about earlier with the combination of not ours is magnified again because we have the guys who've been out for the year and some guys coming back from injury. And then obviously the protocols that guys are going through. This is not the protocols and then clearance to be back on the floor, things like that. I will say that as we've gone through this, we haven't had any additional COVID cases. We just got to weather this stretch we're in right now.
Okay, another thing that I had heard is that all the California schools, while everybody thinks, oh, they're all California, so it's the same, actually, it's sort of county by county, I understand. So everyone will have a different interpretation of the 5-day, 10-day, exactly what their clearance rate is, how they go about it. So you'll have to navigate that virtually every road game.
I feel like it's like last couple of years we were talking about the variables that are in place. It's not just your institution, it's your state, it's your conference, it's the NCAA. In this case, you got we could have a 5-day protocol here before you get cleared. And then, but if you go play somewhere on the road, it's their protocols that you have to follow. So it's, like I said, it's an ongoing puzzle and we're going to continue to navigate it to the best of our ability.
Okay, is there a point person within the UH basketball program who sort of monitors and interprets this stuff for the group? I'm guessing the 2 candidates would be Lawrence, of course, who is the trainer, and he's excellent, I think, and also Dominic, because those 2 guys they work well together, but it seems like they would be the natural ones, sort of the go-tos on that.
Yeah, and the medical team, and obviously there's great collaboration with our admin, who's collaborating with the conference and things like that. There's a lot of, the transparency has to be there, the communication has to be there, and I think everybody's on the same page, and it's a really tough situation. Both can be true. It can be handled well and also still be tough.
Be a mess. Yes.
Yeah. And, I can say it can suck for a situation. It's tough. I feel for everybody that's going through some of this, but it can also be handled well. And so that's where we're at. And we got to continue to just, hang in a little bit.
I know you've had a couple of coaches also who have been affected by this. So it's not, it's not exclusive. It's not like it's only players. It can be anybody, it seems.
It's any profession, every age group. You're watching professional sports. You're watching every intercollegiate sport. You're following it. It's not hard. It's hard not to see something every day where someone's not affected. You got to do the best you can where you're at and continue to be ready to evolve. That's where we're at. And like I said, my hope right now is that this is our toughest stretch. But we're going to, each individual is case by case. You can have asymptomatic guys. You can have guys with symptoms and are back in a few days in terms of after the 5-10 day, whatever it is. And you have some guys that could struggle with it longer. You have to be very careful and sensitive to that. We're that way anyway, communication on the floor. But even when you're going through this, especially for us, first time, I feel for anybody who's going through it.
It sounds like the general thing we're hearing from CDC and the other organizations is that this Omicron variant seems to be more highly transmissible, but also has less serious illness associated with it. Has that been your experience so far?
It has, but in some cases, some people can be affected worse than others, and that's the reality of it. And you have to communicate with each of your people in your team and your program to make sure that they're taken care of. That's my number one job, and that's the people above me's number one job, is to make sure everybody's taken care of. So this has just been a unique situation. Again, our team, as you know, has been fully vaccinated since May. So I do think in some situations, even for the people who've had it, anywhere more severely affected in terms of the symptoms, it still helped that we were vaccinated. So we have had the wide range of it. A lot of guys who had no symptoms, and some guys who have, and some guys more severe. And that's kind of consistent with what you see nationally.
And what's interesting is I don't know if any other program can, maybe they can, but I just remember I think you were the first to be 100%. We're not just talking about players, coach, we're talking about staff. We're talking about anybody who's around the program.
Yeah. And again, I come back to at the end of the day going, what can we do better? And I think the guys, every member here, and they've even been very careful after being fully vaccinated. You know, I'm really proud of our group. I've said that from day one going into this season, and I know we've had unbelievable adversity, but I hold the same feeling, if not more. I feel for the difficulties of what we're going through. They deserve better, and I'm hopeful. Again, I'm going to keep saying it, that they will be rewarded. But I think it's being rewarded, and it might not be in the short or long term or whatever, but it's being rewarded in terms of their character and their resolve.
Okay, I want to get to this. One of my texts disappeared off the screen because I was slow to ask it. The question is, with Juan Munoz and Samuta Vea, are you feeling very confident that both of them will come back next year?
Their intentions, their communication has been to do just that. Like I said, the one thing I can relate to people out there is that they both had successful surgeries, which is really awesome to hear. They've both been in their rehab process. You know, there's a stretch where they were away from us because they were, recovering. And now they're on the floor with us again, and their energy and their spirit, their leadership has been tremendous. They are maximizing everything they can do in terms of getting healthy and also staying engaged with the group. I think they're awesome. And I think we are looking forward to seeing them back at the pace that they should be on. But right now they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, let me get to this, but right before we go to the break, this is a texter. Congratulations on the get of Justice Jackson. I think he's one of the best high school recruits you've ever brought in. Here's the question. Have you ever thought about opening in either a 1-2-1-1 full court or half court trapping defense to create energy for the team in the early going?
Yeah, no, we have it available to us, and we've used it at times, especially you saw we were down and brought us back in the game. Obviously, we were down against in the Diamond Head, brought us in the game. We can use it earlier. I think we've mixed it in there. Some of it is getting these guys, again, going back to the practice time. What are you maximizing your limited amount of practice time we have right now? And the press, obviously, is further effective when you do have the depth we'd like to have. So the last stretch we've been on has been very challenging. We've had to really figure out where we want to put our time in. Do we put it in a press, or do we, which we wanted to use a lot with this team, or more time into getting Kamaka comfortable at the 3, which we had to do, or then Jerome comfortable at the 5, which we had to do. Right. It's been interesting. I love the question because I think this group can be even more effective with that when we have the depth we want. It's just been really challenging to practice. And so even with the challenges and the questions, great, we got to figure out a way to put our guys in the best position.
Get your questions and your texts together. We're on Facebook Live. We're also here on ESPN Honolulu. Encourage your thoughts and sharing them with us. We're going to take a quick timeout. Right back on this Monday edition of Call the Coach.
Paxa is Hawaii's premier technology provider and systems integrator. They harness the power of bleeding-edge technologies to help local businesses realize their full potential. Their team delivers customized IT solutions that enable nearly 400 commercial, government, and nonprofit organizations across the state to maximize opportunities and pursue innovation. To learn more, visit their website at paxa.com. That's PACXA.com.
Protect your family with V-Shield, the next generation of hand sanitizers. As a spray or lotion, V-Shield kills the COVID virus on contact, providing 4 hours of protection. Purchase V-Shield sanitizers at all Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union locations, just $13. With every sanitizer purchase, the credit union will donate a travel spray to a frontline hero. Visit hificu.com, federally insured by the NCUA. All sales final. Nova Shield LLC is solely responsible for the content of this advertisement and is the manufacturer and distributor of this product. Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union makes no representations or warranties concerning the effectiveness of this product.
Some people think of public workers as statistics, numbers, positions that are unnecessary. But public workers include police dispatchers, lifeguards, principals, and other school workers like safety and security specialists and educational assistants, public health nurses, and thousands more real people who play important roles that every community needs. So those public workers, we shouldn't take them for granted. They provide essential services that benefit us all. A message from HGEA.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
Hey, remember how 20 years ago I switched to Progressive? Well, now it's the future, and I used all those savings to buy this new hologram phone. Because, it's the future, and everything is holograms now.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Deep breaths.
Mi's virtual meditation studio has never been busier.
Imagine not working.
They need a remote assistant to realign their scheduling.
Blank calendar. Sorry, back to your breath.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Make calls, schedule virtual interviews, and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
Welcome back to our virtual edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot. We got a texter and a caller. Texter was first. Aloha, Coach. Can you tell us how many years of UH eligibility remain after this year for each of your current players?
I'll do my best here. And remember, some of these guys might have the extra year in graduating or been here long, so they have that option. And the guard, Javon, is a sophomore, so he has 2 more years after this year. Noel is the same boat. He has 2 more years after this year. Juan Munoz has 1 more year after this year. Lotto has 2 more years after this year. He's actually a sophomore this year. So Bion has 3 more years. He's a freshman this year because last year didn't count. So Bion has 3 more years. Samuta has 1 more year because of the injury. I'm trying to split them. Bernardo also has 2 more years after this year.
Wow.
Mate's in his 5th year, but he actually has a year. He's going to set to graduate. Junior has an extra year, but he's set to graduate. And then you have Kamaka Hepa, who's got 2 more years, 1 more year after this year. Jerome, we talked about last time on the show. Maybe there's an option for him to come back because he didn't have the option to play or opt out last year because Ivy League. Yeah. So I know he'd love to be back, and we'd love to have him back. If he does get the year, he'd have 1 more year.
I just think it would be an injustice in his situation, and this would be true for any Ivy Leaguer. I just think it's hard to deny those guys a year that they missed through no fault of their own.
No, quite. And we'd love to coach him another year. So, Zor actually is a redshirt sophomore. He's got 2 more years, I believe. Yeah, because he actually redshirted and then he had the COVID year. Yaka has 4 years, including this year, and Justice has 4 years, including this year. So I'm trying to think if I missed anybody.
I hope not. I think you got most of them.
Because I worry too. Brock Hefner has.
There you go.
He's 4 years after this year.
Wow, that's something. Okay, we have a caller. We've got Shane on the line. Hi, Shane. You're on with the Ron.
Hi, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi. Hey, just had a quick comment. It's totally impossible to, I feel, judge this team because of the injuries and stuff. I know you're a no excuse guy, next man up mentality, but in reality, especially the last 2 games, if you count Samuta and Munoz, with Mate and Bernardo being out, you're down 4 guys that, to me, would have played significant minutes. Plus, Kamaka was hurt, for a good part of those 2 games. So it's really hard to judge how good this team could be. I really feel we beat Vanderbilt if we're full strength. But I guess my question to you is, how do we get McClanahan going, especially offensively? Have you considered maybe bringing him off the bench, to take a little bit of pressure off him, moving Coleman?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, because we're getting real feedback. Just want to tell the Well, you hear that? We got that feedback problem. Okay. All right, Shane, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't fix that.
I was just wondering, how do we get McClanahan going? You think he's putting too much pressure on himself? Has bringing him off the bench been a consideration? Maybe moving Coleman to the 1, Junior to the 2, Kamaka to the 3 when Bernardo or Mate comes back. I was just wondering, is it a lack of confidence, or what do you think is going on with McClanahan?
No, good question. And I know what you were saying on the 4 guys out. We actually had Kamaka out, obviously, for the last 8 minutes of the last 2 games. But I just don't think we need to ever go with the excuse route, because I think this group, it doesn't do you any good. And I do believe that what we're going through will help us when those other guys come back. Now, obviously, 2 guys won't, but a couple guys will. And in terms of Javon, I think you saw his great stretch on the road trip. Do I think it's a lack of work? For sure not. He's one of the better workers we've been around. Do I think he's putting pressure on himself? I think that can be part of it, because he really wants to be successful and he wants to help the team. He's a tremendous teammate. I do know when some of the guys have been out, it's affected his game a little bit. And when those guys like Mate and him really connect really well. So I just think he's going to make a jump when those guys are back and he continues to work and we continue to believe in him. We've played him, we've started him, we've brought him off the bench. I think you're going to look at a couple combinations, because you said, obviously Noel playing the point. Junior, as you've noticed recently, has played more point. I just think he'll get, and I think some of it too, we talked about earlier, playing so many guys, so many minutes has affected everybody a little bit. The numbers are the numbers. The depth is the depth. And I think when those guys come back, now we have to deal with it, but when everybody comes back, people will be more at their natural positions. We'll be playing more with guys they're comfortable with as well. And I think all those guys will make a jump, including Javon. So I think you guys have seen us using Junior at the point, and I feel like he's really enjoying that as well. Javon does a lot of things. He defends his position well. He's one of our higher assister guys, and I just think he's better than he's played, but he's also shown the flashes, particularly on the road trip, that I think will come back when some of those guys come back as well.
Well, I just want to mention, to buttress what you're saying, he's 2-to-1 assists to turnovers. That's not bad for a guy who's getting extended minutes, really, for the first time in his UH career. Okay, let's move to this text. Aloha, coach, if you had to pick one team to win the Big West, not counting UH, who would be the front runner for you?
I don't like saying anybody. It's hard to root for anybody. I can't say another team. I know the teams that have won. I'm going to play the game, I guess, because I got to play the game and I got to honor the question. I respect the question. So, I feel like the teams that defend and rebound the best at the end of the year, and that's where we were when we did it. Irvine was when they were there. So I know right now, and it's really hard to say right now because a lot of teams are in these pauses and rhythm and inconsistency and guys in and out. Probably one of the hardest years for me, not including our team, to answer that question, because I think there's more unknowns than we've had. Davis jumps out because of their experience, particularly in the backcourt, as Mannion and Elijah Pepper are back. That's why I think they were playing with a lot of momentum of late, especially coming into conference. Santa Barbara obviously was the returning champs, and they're adjusting to, new backcourt. I think they'll be, particularly in the backcourt. Their front court's all back, and they have an all-league front court. Their new guys are in the backcourt. They'll be better by the end of the season, things like that. So, but Irvine, because of their championship pedigree, Davis, they've also won the league, and they've been good over the last 6 years. They've won the league, and they were really good defensively during that stretch. Now they have a good backcourt. So that's about as much as I'll do, and I feel like I need to go wash my mouth out because I've talked about other teams more than I'd like.
Okay, that's fair enough. Here's a text. Where is Kamaka with his injury? Will he be ready for Saturday?
Kamaka is better than he was. Obviously, he's been a real fighter for us. He's, you see him playing different positions more than, he's been playing now 3 positions when we lost Mate after losing Bernardo. And he's been doing that with way too many minutes in some areas. And you could see him soldiering through. I mean, he's riding the bike during games. He's limping at times with his, his feet and things like that. And So all I can say is that was the last time we played was obviously December 23rd. He's better than he was then, and we're going to continue to monitor him as he moves forward. But he is a soldier, and he's doing everything he can, and he's a big part of what we do.
In general terms, and I've had people say to me, gee, I thought we'd get more out of Kamaka. I was kind of reminding them, one of the things you get with, maybe if you're talking about points, rebounds, I can see where the expectation might have been higher. But in terms of his ability to both catch and pass the basketball, to be able to put the ball on the floor in a way that not a lot of 6'9" guys can, he delivers a lot more value than I think meets the eye initially.
And he still has some he still delivers value. Like, this is a guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's given us 10. Like I said, it's his first year playing a lot of minutes. We're playing through him. He's doing fine. He's doing great. But he's out. We've actually asked more of him than any of those guys we've asked before. Like, I talk about Noah Allen and Jack Purchase, and we've always had great. Every Division I transfer we had has been successful, and everyone has had a little bit of a learning curve early. Kamaka has been pretty good early, but he's been asked more than any of those guys. He's literally playing 3 positions with a new group and dealing with the group that's had. I know we've had some adversity the last couple of years with two or three guys out for injury or whatnot. Not like this. And so he's literally our captain, our vocal leader. He's playing 3 positions, and he's still, shooting close to 50 from the field, shooting over 40 from 3. He's starting to see the passes to make, and I just see a guy who's going to continue to grow. He's going to shoot efficient numbers, and he's a guy we can play through as a decision maker. He can play in the post, he can play on the perimeter. He's given us everything we had, and we appreciate the heck out of it.
The other thing, and I just want to mention this for I get a privileged spot to be around these guys a little bit more than some. And I got to say that he is one of the brightest, most refreshing personalities on this team. He is welcoming and outgoing, and I wouldn't have expected that necessarily. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's people gravitate towards him.
Yes.
He has a presence and a leadership quality about him that is very impressive, especially, like I said, to create that kind of respect this early in his career anywhere is very difficult. To be thrown in the fire and do it with such a great attitude. I'll play the 5, I'll play the 3, I'll play whatever you need, and I'll play 35, 36 minutes. And, while I'm, he's banged up here and there, I just think I know I speak for our players and our staff that he is a huge part of what we do. And we have a lot of appreciation for what he's about. And we're excited about his future.
Okay, here's another texter, another guy that's a full court press acolyte. He says, Coach, I like the 1-2-1-1 full court press you've been running at times. Do you plan on using it more in the future?
Well, I know I think you'll see it more as we get some of these guys back. And obviously we're going through that stretch because you want to continue to press with that same kind of activity. You don't want to have a soft press. And sometimes you might fall back into a zone or fall back into man, but it's been good for us to mix things up. Again, the moving people around at different spots, people just see that offensively. There's an impact there when you're moving people around defensively, or particularly when you zone or press. So it's been difficult to get guys comfortable at every different spot, but it is the challenge we have ahead of us, and we were able to use it effectively at times with some of those challenges, and we hope we can use it more as we heal up.
I noticed that at times, if you put, and you have a couple of times I've seen Kamaka at the head of this thing, because he is not only 6'9", he's really long. He reminds me of one of those guys that Boeheim always had at Syracuse. You're like, my God, they cover, they can cover not just the middle, but they can cover like a wing in the middle.
Well, when we've seen, I know people haven't seen it yet because he's been out so long, but when we've had like a Mate, Kamaka, Bernardo front line, or even having those guys on the back of the zone, and even when Samuta was out there, Junior was long. Obviously, people are starting to realize, the athleticism and explosiveness and length of Noel, and Javon's ability to pick up full court. So, hopefully we can get back to some of that when we get everybody back. It's the nature of the beast we're going through right now.
We're going to do this. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll be right back. I hope you're enjoying this on Facebook Live or on ESPN Honolulu. Back right after this.
Paxa is Hawaii's premier technology provider and systems integrator. They harness the power of bleeding-edge technologies to help local businesses realize their full potential. Their team delivers customized IT solutions that enable nearly 400 commercial, government, and nonprofit organizations across the state to maximize opportunities and pursue innovation. To learn more, visit their website at paxa.com. That's PACXA.com.
Pero, what you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homey fall-proof gear.
Pero, ano bubble wrap and duct tape going work?
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. Pero, you okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting small and hot in here.
Oh, no.
It's raining over here. How we pop all the stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog, because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Some people think of public workers as statistics, numbers, positions that are unnecessary. But public workers include police dispatchers, lifeguards, principals, and other school workers like safety and security specialists and educational assistants, public health nurses, and thousands more real people who play important roles that every community needs. So those public workers, we shouldn't take them for granted. They provide essential services that benefit us all. A message from HGEA.
Yes, Miss Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
Custodial team is not...
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
Welcome back to our virtual edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head basketball coach Eran Ganot. And here is a text, Eran. Coach, with the loss of the first two conference games and now this last one postponed, how important to do, I think what he means is the next one, which is Fullerton postponed, how important do the remaining games come to position in the Big West tournament?
No, they're really important. Well, I know we were talking off the air, but right now, first step is to get healthy, then get better, and build momentum, obviously, going into the conference tournament. So I think we can accomplish those things, particularly with what we've been going through. So, the goal is regular season championship, tournament championship. Right now, we have two things that are, again, we're process oriented. You got to focus on what we can control now. And for us to do those things, we got to get healthy and we got to practice, and then we got to get better from game to game to game. And like I said earlier, we got to build that chemistry on the floor again, which you lose a lot. I think we'll find it quick once we get more reps together, because, usually play like the way these guys are off the floor. It's a very connected group. They just got to now get connected again on the floor when these guys come back in there. But it's going to be, like we said earlier, about defending, rebounding, taking care of the ball, and kind of going from there and building that habit, not just an up and down kind of thing. And we have an opportunity to do that once we get healed up first, and then getting more games and more. We need games. We need to play, but we certainly need to practice as well and get healthy.
Okay, here is Mike on YouTube. Coach, how hard is it to recruit outside of Hawaii? Not that you do a lot of recruiting in the state. There's just not a lot of recruitable players here.
Yeah, there are challenges, obviously, but there's also great opportunities. I think we've done a really good job recruiting internationally. I think the last couple of years have maybe shown a bigger challenge than recruiting out of Hawaii. It's you recruit out of Hawaii when you're dealing with COVID and protocols, not inability to go to some. I mean, we had a a long stretch over a year where we couldn't go visit with people, student athletes, prospective student athletes, couldn't go evaluate them. So having some of that back, and I know we're seeing that just like we've had cancellations, there have been cancellation at the high school, junior college, international level as well. So I do think we found a niche in terms of recruiting internationally. You just see the amount of guys we've had over the years from other countries, recruiting at the junior college level. You see that over the years and what we've had here. And then again, the transfer portal has been really good for us. You don't want to have a lot of guys coming in or coming out in the same year, but you think about having I think it was 7 for 7 Division I transfers since we've been here have been starters, all-league players, or first-team all-league players. So we're going to use each of these categories as a niche for us, but not live off just one in particular. So I know we like what we have coming back. I know we like what we have coming in, even with a guy like Justice already now getting a head start for next year. And we like the guys we're kind of on right now. And then the spring will present the transfer portal, which we're going to look at for 1 or 2 guys and go from there.
Okay, here is Brandon on YouTube. Coach, how do you see the state of recruiting in the program today compared to when you first arrived? Have you considered recruiting Canada more?
Yeah, no, we've recruited internationally pretty hard. I think a lot's changed compared to when we first arrived because of the transfer portal has probably been the biggest change. And there's been some changes in international, whereas let's say early 2000s, when people recruited internationally, it wasn't a lot of the big boys. But you see what's happening in the NBA and in collegiate athletics, and now everybody's recruiting them. And the geographical disadvantage we had, let's say with Europe or even Toronto, wasn't as much a geographical disadvantage in terms of the distance because nobody else is really recruiting there. Now everybody's recruiting. Now our geographical advantage in terms of international continues to be Australia, New Zealand, and obviously in terms of nationally, the Western United States. So I do think we've had success with guys from Canada, and they're obviously it's an area we'll continue to recruit because there are just so many good players coming out of there. But all hands on deck. We have a staff that recruits internationally and a program that's proven to be a good fit for those guys as well.
How much of an advantage is having Brad Davidson on the staff in terms of recruiting down under?
No, you think about how many guys I've been fortunate enough to coach and work with from Australia, and now Brad comes in and gives us even more so, his ability. He's played professionally over there. He's coached professionally over there. He's very well thought of for all the right reasons over there. And so now you have a combination of those, and we've had success with some guys from there. So, and he helps us get into New Zealand as well. He's recruited that area. And now you have the rest of the guys in our staff who've also recruited Europe and Canada and things like that. And as we continue to, mix in some, like we talked about, high school kids, junior college kids, and, the transfer portal, just to a small extent, what we were saying is there's so many different tiers we can draw from. We don't want to live off one in particular. We want to balance our classes and kind of go from there.
And I know that's sometimes more easily said than done. What is the state of basketball in both Australia and New Zealand? Is it continuing to grow in terms of popularity and the number of participants at the youth level?
100%. I mean, you could see with Australia now winning their bronze medaling for the first time in the Olympics, the amount of guys they have in the NBA. So all those younger guys, those kids are watching these guys perform, and the game has just blossomed. And then the same in Canada. You're seeing so many guys. I think Canada's put out the most Division I players of any country. And so you can see it both in college athletics, at the professional levels, and it's like any momentum, these younger guys, kids are starting earlier. It's fun to watch. We recruit internationally as much to bring in and identify talent that can help our program, and also to learn different styles. And you can see some of that in the way we play.
Eran, we are getting fairly close to our end point here, believe it or not. Here's a texter. Coach, just a scheduling question. What's your feeling on always ending with a pair of road games before the conference tournament?
As you know, I'll always say, whatever the schedule is, once it's done, I'm all for it. That's the mindset you got to have. There's positives and negatives, right? So we stay on the road for the conference tournament. you feel like you're on the road for, in terms of the negative, you might be on the road for a pretty extensive time. It'd be nice some years, to finish, senior night and things like that on your home court, and then fly over for the conference tour. So, I mean, it's something we're going to be on both sides of it, and whatever side it is, we're going to make it work. But
it's going to be whatever happens will be the best thing that could happen.
Yeah, hey, you're on the road, great. You're at home, great. I mean, the reality is there are some pros and cons to both of it that I just kind of explained.
Okay, I'll have to go fast to read fast this because we're down to 45 seconds. This is from Regan. Can you affiliate yourself with recruiting agencies to assist in recruiting, or does the NCAA only allow hired staff to recruit for the program?
Yeah, there's obviously some, in terms of you have scouting companies that maybe watch an international tournaments, and then another group that watches high school, and another that watches junior college. So you can get sometimes evaluations and video and film from that, but you can't endorse any scouting agency at all or recruiting group. That's kind of, you can incorporate them into what your program in terms of evaluations and things like that, but we can't directly endorse any.
Eran, we are flat out of time. We'll look forward and hope the Saturday game against Long Beach State will end up taking place. Thank you much.
Thanks for having me, as always. Appreciate it.
Eran Ganot, University of Hawaii head basketball coach. Thanks to Keegan Ota for producing this for us. From all of us at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Bobby Curran. Aloha.
This has been Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu, presented by Paxa and brought to you by HGEA, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union, and IBEW Local 1186.
Some people think of public workers as statistics, numbers, positions that are unnecessary. But public workers include police dispatchers, lifeguards, principals, and other school workers like safety and security specialists and educational assistants, public health nurses, and thousands more real people who play important roles that every community needs. So those public workers, we shouldn't take them for granted. They provide essential services that benefit us all. A message from HGEA.
Well, what you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homey fall-proof gear.
Ano bubble wrap and duct tape going work?
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. You okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting small and hot in here.
Oh, no.
It's raining over here. How we pop water stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
Paxa is Hawaii's premier technology provider and systems integrator. They harness the power of bleeding-edge technologies to help local businesses realize their full potential. Their team delivers customized IT solutions that enable nearly 400 commercial, government, and nonprofit organizations across the state to maximize opportunities and pursue innovation. To learn more, visit their website at paxa.com. That's PACXA.com.
Have you ever wondered why eyeglasses cost so much? The eyewear industry has been dominated by a single company that's kept prices artificially high.
Yikes.
Warby Parker was created to change that. They design and produce their own eyewear and then sell it directly to you for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's high-quality glasses start at just $95, including your prescription. Try 5 pairs of frames for free. Go to warbyparker.com to pick your 5 frames to try on at home for free. That's warbyparker.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Ready for an oil change? We can help get the right protection at the right price. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Daily Protection or Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil with an STP oil filter for just $28.99. Visit one of our 6,000 stores or order from AutoZone.com for same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is ESPN Honolulu, KKEA Honolulu, AM 1420 and K224FR, Honolulu, 92.7 FM.